limbs, since a lot of it's been moved down.
Yeah.
Okay.
That was
Jeff,
it.
could I have that letter so I could?
A copy?
Copy of it.
Like a copy?
Let's see, what does it have on it that I don't want exposed? Yes, I can do that. Could you pass this down, please? You make a copy of it and give me back the one. Thank you.
All right. We'll move on to boards and officials.
I'm not bored anymore.
Not bored.
I'm not
You're
the chair
so
anymore.
fortunate. Yeah. Anything from budget committee?
No, we'll be meeting next Tuesday, I believe.
Cemetery, do they have?
Next regularly scheduled meeting is Wednesday, September 1st. I canceled the June meeting, so I guess I'll have to make good on the September meeting. It'll be just a review of the budget, not much happening right now.
All right. Right there.
School board. Our next meeting is August 26th at 6 p.m. and it's a joint meeting with Grafton, Athens, and Westminster. And the meeting will be held both in person and in a Zoom format. And it's this is a time for the townsfolk to ask questions regarding the voting on August 31st. So we're getting
And what's the date again?
August 26th. It's a Thursday.
And where will that be?
It'll be in Westminster, the Westminster School.
Okay.
For those who don't want to drive that far, or can't get that far, it's also open in Zoom format.
And where do they find the link to the
Zoom meeting.
Zoom meeting?
That would be on the website for the SU.
For the supervisor,
Yeah, Supervisory Union. And you would go into, on the front page, sort of right in the middle, there's a upcoming meeting, I think it's called. There's a picture of a camera.
Okay.
Can Hannah get that and post it up on our town
Good,
site?
yes.
Yep, I've got information at that and having it posted up.
And when again, the time was 6:30, you said?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
And then from our last meeting, we talked about the ESSER funds. We've got 3 groups of funds from that. The first one was mitigation. That's funds that have already been used. That was what got us through the COVID, buying the PPEs, the tents, the extra tables, and that type of stuff. The one we're in now is recovery. We use that for the summer school, which was in all of the schools within the SU, and from the reports from the different principals, it went extremely well, and the students got a lot out of it, so it was very, very successful. We have a committee of 30 people, and these are teachers, school board members, faculty, administrators, and parents that are on this committee, and they're going through the discussions and fact gathering stage right now. So at this point we don't know where the rest of those funds will go. It's still in progress. And then the third one will be the infrastructure, and there's some monies that have not yet been allocated and we haven't done anything with it. And then the first day of school will be September 7th, and at the recent SU meeting and the union board meeting, we voted to make it mandatory for masks at least the first 10 days, and then we'll revisit, see where we're at. We're not mandating teachers to be vaccinated. We're putting that into the union hands to deal with that, because we are not able to mandate that type of a situation.
Are you not able to or not, or the school board just doesn't want to?
We're not able to, the way I understand it, to mandate that. It's not in our position, so it'll be in contract, whether they have to do it or not.
Lynn, is that masking for everyone in school?
Everyone. in the school
Students,
building.
teachers, staff?
Students, staff, visitors, anybody inside the building.
Mhm.
Masking outside is optional.
So
At this
then
point.
I do have a question on that, because I read an article in the Bennington Banner that said only Wyndham Northeast supervisory personnel and students. Technically, the individual schools, they couldn't mandate that that had to be brought up by the individual boards and voted on by the individual boards. Is that true?
Right, the SU is recommending that, and the union board, our board, it has put it through, we've accepted that.
Okay.
So in Grafton, the AFGRAP and Westminster schools, they are mandating masks.
Now, at the end of school, were masks mandated?
Yes. Yeah, we were still masking at the end of this last school year.
Anything else?
And then just to give a heads up on the climbing structure in the playground at Grafton, failed its recent inspection and is not repairable, so that large chunk will be taken out if it hasn't already gone out.
It's already gone.
It's already,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, I know they were gonna do it as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's gone.
So, and then we're gonna be talking with the parents and students to get ideas on what they would like to see there. And then we'll start looking into doing the research and drafting a plan, and then we'll do a fundraiser to replace it. So that piece will not be in place at the beginning of school, but there's still the swing set and a number of other pieces there. So it's just the big piece that had the bouncy bridge and the climbing ladders and stuff that's not available. Evidently had some structural issues that were not good.
Is there absentee voting on the 31st?
Yes.
Did they do anything with the ventilation, the air transfer in the schools from any of the funds that they received?
Yes, that was all done.
All
back
redone or just?
on the mitigation, yeah. We had that done almost right at the beginning of school last year. It was all upgraded. There is, oh, I forgot to put that in here. There is something going on with, let's see, what was it? Lead in the water. So there are a number of drinking faucets and faucets that cannot be used at the school. And that was not covered, yeah, it came up after our last meeting, so I don't know all the details on that, just some information that came in email format. So they're looking into that and what we need to do. So hopefully we'll be talking about that on the 26th.
Just follow up on that, absentee voting. If someone wanted to absentee vote, how would we go about that?
Talk to Darlene,
Oh, wow.
she'd get your ballot.
I'll talk to you afterwards. Thanks.
So yes, anybody that wants to vote in that,
Come in Monday and we can do that.
Okay.
Darlene's on Monday, or they can call the office and request it, and one can be mailed out, or it can be done beforehand, so, and you have the ballots already?
I have it ready to print, and
Okay.
we're gonna print our own, so I will print some up on
And
Monday.
what time will that voting be?
10 to 7.
10 to 7.
Jerry, boards and officials.
So we're still in a holding, waiting pattern with the Paul Brun grant. David, I just want to confirm that when you reviewed the grant agreement, that you saw the information about the covenant, because I know I've mentioned it. I believe that there'll be a form that will come from them, or kind of a format for creating the covenant that we'll need to have signed and sent back, but I haven't seen anything there yet, and it seems like it will follow having a clear plan on what the work will be that's being done.
Yeah, but wouldn't the covenant be put in the land records here?
I would guess it
I
would be,
believe
yeah,
it would have to be.
right.
They would just, we would send them a copy of it, but my thinking was that it would need to be recorded in the land records.
Right, I would guess that it would be as well, but I had just had an email from Lisa Ryan asking if the board was aware of the 15-year covenant, and I said yes, that I knew you had read the grant report, and the grant agreement, and that I had mentioned it in meetings when we were talking about it. And then I asked her if that was something that we would be drawing up or they would be drawing up, and that's kind of where this all came from. So I believe there is some sort of a format for it that she'll share with me, but obviously we're not there yet. But it's coming, so I just want to, again, make sure that I've made you aware of it, and I can say, yes, we are definitely covering that one.
And does that need to be signed like immediately once we get that, or can it wait till our next meeting?
I can't, I mean, it's for 15 years, I can't imagine that it needs to be immediate. You're right. And there doesn't seem to be any rush about getting it in our hands at this point, so I'm guessing that there won't be a big push on that. She was gonna be communicating with the National Park Service, I believe, this week. So I may hear something about whether or not there's any additions or corrections or changes that need to be made on the review that we submitted, and or if there's any feedback yet on our draft scope of work, but I'm still waiting on all of that. I believe at not the last meeting, the meeting before, I had made mention of the dead tree that's on the property, and when I came back and asked about it last month, you hadn't yet spoken to Matt about it, so I'm just checking in as to whether or not that's happened.
There's a tree,
The maple tree up in the corner?
yes.
And we were also wondering about the ash tree that's next to it, and I think you were going to see if Bob Anderson would weigh in on that.
I have not talked to Bob about the ash tree there. I mean, I don't think it would be a bad idea to take it out when they're all up there and going at it. Is to take the ash tree out when it is there.
Is the ash tree damaged or dying?
No, it's just that we're gonna lose them all
We
in the
very
not
well
too
may lose them all.
distant future.
So instead of having a dead tree that we then also have to work on. Matt's up there and doing it, take them both out, I would think. Is that reasonable with you?
Yep.
You?
And I would say that maybe we don't need to decide on it now, but the wood from that could either be a fundraiser for the meeting house like we just did, or it could be a donation through Grafton Cares to somebody in need of.
For firewood or for
Oh, interesting. Yeah, good question. I don't know, but we don't have to decide that right now, right? We can talk about that.
Well, I guess it has to be decided before he cuts them, because that depends on how he cuts them down.
True.
Yeah, I'm not sure that the maple's much good for
I
lumber,
wouldn't think so.
But
But-
the ash might be.
but the ash might be, or, you could try, maybe.
I don't know, I have a hard time cutting down the ash if there's nothing wrong with it at this time. I understand you want to be proactive and cut it before it does die, but I
You know,
know.
I have not heard recently if there are,
Still bugs are coming our way.
but I suspect that they probably are. Yeah, so, maybe we'll leave it up to Matt, whether he thinks it needs to go now or later, when he's cutting it.
I'd also maybe ask Jay Machowski to
That would be
weigh
an
in
excellent idea.
on it, see what his
Jay
thoughts
could-
are.
Was it State Forest or?
Mhm.
I know Bob's out tree warden, why don't we talk to him about that? Just because I understand where you're coming from, where you want to be proactive, but
All right, anything else?
Question, is the ash, if it came down, it would come down on the meeting house?
I haven't actually looked at it to try and make that determination, and I'd let somebody else who knows better than me make that call.
Looking at it, I
Don't worry
don't
about
think it would.
'Cause with this crazy weather we've been having, there've been trees coming down that look perfectly healthy.
So the other thing I wanted to just come back to is that I think it was last month that we made mention that the property on the corner had gone on the market. And at this point, it's under contract. I'm not sure if it's actually closed yet or not, but my understanding is it's closing at some point this month. You're looking at me with a question mark. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Brian Lavoie's.
Brian
property is
Lavoie's
being
property.
sold.
No, but I don't think we brought that up at this meeting, did we?
Yeah, I thought we did.
I don't recall that.
Okay, well, anyway, that's the situation. It is under contract. So that means that the clearing of the corner that we've talked about numerous times here hasn't happened yet and can't happen at this point, unless we have a conversation with the new owners and they're interested and willing to go ahead with that. Brian has indicated to me that he will share that was a plan that was being discussed with the meeting house and the town, and encourage them to consider going ahead with it, but obviously it'll be the decision of the new owners. The concern I have about this, though, is that in part of that work that was to be done, it was also going to include cleaning up the edge of that parking area that's there. And that was, as I understand it, a misunderstanding that I believe Matt thought that that whole corner was going to become parking area, which I don't know where that impression came from, but there is quite a pile of brush, and the stone wall that ran along the edge of the Lavoie property was disrupted quite a bit. And when all the material was there for the drainage work, when that was finished, the cleanup from there really wasn't, I would say it wasn't done completely, because there was this expectation that there was going to be some more work around parking there. So what I guess I'm looking for is perhaps a plan to approach the new owners and offer to do that cleanup that should have been done in a different way than it was. It should have been left in a better state than it was when that drainage work was finished, as sort of a good welcoming into the town.
I don't have a problem with that, do you, Matt? Do you?
No, that there was something that was expected to be done in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
I can't see them saying, no, don't clean it up, leave it that way.
Janet, do you have any issues with it?
No, it should have been done 5 or 6 years ago when the parking lot was done.
Well, actually, it wasn't when the parking lot was done, it was when the
When the drainage was
work was done. The parking area was there at that time, but when the drainage was finished, it was not, I mean, some of it may have been from the parking area as well, but also the drainage. So I will find out when the new folks have arrived. I'll be in touch with Brian and get a sense of that, and then maybe go up and introduce myself to them and let them know that the town is willing to take that on and clean that up for them, and that might be a good opening for a conversation too about the corner and what the plans were, and just see if they want to talk about that.
Do you know if they're gonna be living here, or is this?
My understanding is that they will be living here, yeah.
Wouldn't it be better for the road commissioner or the road foreman to talk to them about that?
They could talk to them with you. Is that reasonable? Matt comes up and the two of you go?
I would like to make contact with them initially, and then if they're open to it, have another visit with Matt.
Okay. All right.
And
Anything
the
else?
last thing I just want to say is that we did have a, I thought, relatively successful event last Sunday. We had a concert and ice cream social. It kind of is disappointing to me that there are more people that come from elsewhere and not from Athens. So I would be very interested in hearing input from any of you as to what might make a difference. Might it be a different time of day? Might it be a different day? Is there an event that might warrant more folks from town coming out and supporting the efforts that we're doing up there? Because it was kind of discouraging to not see too many people from town.
I know in my case, I wanted to come, but my schedule was so booked that day.
Right,
wasn't
I
able
mean,
to
I,
make
you
it.
know, I know, that happens with a lot of folks, but,
Just wasn't here in town during that time.
Mhm.
It's hard, you know, but I work during the weekend, on weekends, it's go take care of my mom.
right.
Yeah.
I also think that, because I saw this happen a lot where like after, because we were so secluded during COVID that all of a sudden summer came and we could hang with other people, that everyone just booked their entire summer.
Oh, right.
Like
Right.
in May. So I think maybe part of that, or at least that was the case for me.
I hear, I get it. But it's not the first time that we've seen this at events that
Okay.
we've held. So I'm just putting it out there to say, give us some feedback if there are ideas that you have as to things that would encourage more people to come.
Well, when we had,
Contribute and let us know.
Mills,
Pardon me?
when we had the Singer Mills, we had a good turnout then,
I'd say we had about the same amount of people.
really.
Yeah.
That's chore time for me.
Pardon me?
I said, that's chore time for me. Can't upset my cows.
All right, anything else, Sharon? All right. So we will move on to the Former School Advisory Committee.
Emergency committee.
Nope, Emergency Committee, Ken, go right ahead.
We exist still. In fact, I'd like to really make special mention because there are all the members but one are here. Don, Witchy, Tina, Lynn, Sherry. And it's been a very active committee. It's been a joy to work with. And most recently that was demonstrated with the concern around heat and the heat waves that we were very aware of out west and what we could do for our neighbors should we be afflicted with such in terms of providing care. And that generated a lot of conversation via email. We had a meeting at the school itself, which was looked at as in terms of using that as a temporary shelter, and decided not to because it's not accessible for physically challenged people. At least at this point, that's something we hope that will change in the very near future. And so it was agreed that we would use the church next door, much as we use that for other emergency type of weather emergencies where we have to provide shelter for people. So we agreed on some basic standards of how it would be used. For example, that people would go home at night, that they'd be responsible for their own food, that we would provide water. We'd have a person present to monitor the use of the building and what have you. And we would do what we do when when the church is used for other types of emergencies, is do a walkthrough with pastor to make sure we agree on how the building is. I've talked to pastor, he's all for it, he's fine with it.
And they have AC in there now?
Yeah. Well, they don't have AC,
No, we don't
no,
have
they don't have
AC.
AC. But it's the best of our choices at this point.
Well, the basement is fairly cool.
The basement of the school is a good place, but as I said a
No,
moment
I
ago.
meant the church.
Pardon me?
The church basement is.
Oh, the
usually
church
school.
basement, mhm. Okay.
And you couldn't get handicap accessibility? They can't get in through,
The door is blocked by
Shrubbery.
huge Cynthia bushes that need to be dug out so that that road is open again to be able to get to the back door.
That's
Yeah,
one of the
that's-
things we hope the
The
student
school,
committee
yes.
would address sooner than later.
and if it's for heat purposes, to cool people down, the basement is much cooler than.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
place we want to
Yeah.
go to,
Yeah.
right. No, that's where we want to end up.
Yeah.
But we just felt like with elderly people, with physically challenged people, that it would be better to do what we've decided. So anyway, the long and the short of it is, as I would assume most of you know, through the hard work of Lynn, we got together a statement that we sent out to everyone in town, stating that if people should be in trouble with heat, we had the list of all the members of the committee and our phone numbers, and advised them to give us a call to use the place. So that's our, sort of our interim plan until we develop a more, till we can use the school. So I just wanted to, and to thank everyone on the committee again. This is a great group of people. I really enjoy working with people like Don and Witchy and Tina and Lynn and Sherry.
Well, hopefully, we're at the end of heat waves here for this year.
Yeah, that would be nice.
But you never
I
know.
hope for a lot of things. I hope for a nice gift from Santa Claus this year, but I just learned recently that Santa doesn't even exist, so.
Oh,
But I mean, maybe sometimes in September, you do get a heat wave done,
Oh.
as intense as, July and August.
The
but
thing about what is happening is that you can't predict it.
this is true.
It happens.
All right,
We've also had a super unusually really wet July and August, so it's like we haven't had sunlight really. So.
Hurricanes are popping up. That's where we may go next.
all right. So the next thing on the agenda is the former school advisory committee, which is a, probably a bad name for what we want to do here, and that'd be your first thing to rename yourselves once it's.
That was your job, David.
Well, that's what I came
Come
up
on,
with
you-
quickly there, so that will be the first thing on the agenda, rename this committee here, but, we've got 5 names here: Tim Stevenson, Tina White, Sandy Campancelli, Dennis Moranti, and Kate Bova, that will serve on that. Do we have anybody else that wants to or will?
Yep, and I guess you haven't received their names.
I don't, these are the names I've got.
Okay, let me see if I can find, oh, yes. Kelsey and Matt, friends of Witchy's, Witchy put us in touch with them. They didn't come tonight because they have real concerns around COVID and being in a closed place like this.
Okay.
But they are a young couple who have recently moved to Athens.
Yeah, they live right behind there. That field is there.
Okay.
What's
And
their,
they're-
what's their last name?
Matt Shea and Kelsey Birch. Don't ask me to spell that, please.
Kelsey Birch.
Yeah,
B-U-R-C-H.
there you go. Thank you.
Okay,
So that makes 7.
all right. And I was thinking it wouldn't hurt to have somebody from the select board on there too, just so everybody keeps in knowledge of it there. Either of you want to serve? I mean, I can do it.
I could try it, schedule it, like I said.
Probably should only be one of us, because if
I
he
know
meets,
it is
it
a
can.
quorum.
Yeah, there would be a quorum, and we shouldn't do that, so I can do it, or you can do it, whichever.
If you are available,
Do we have any ideas when we're thinking of meeting?
Well, I thought your idea was to meet sooner than later, and I totally agree with that, given the priorities of this committee that were pretty much decided on at the last meeting. So I would say hopefully we would have a meeting in early September, which would be a couple of weeks away.
Yeah. But, I mean, are you thinking days, nights, weekends, when are you thinking?
Well, what I was gonna do is send an email out to all the members and try to get a sense of when they are available to do a meeting. I find that works better than going ahead and arbitrarily deciding one that fits my schedule.
Okay.
Because invariably people say, no, I can't do that day or that time. So I will do that first, and I'll do that in the next day or two.
Okay.
And include you as a member. And once I get that information, then I'll call a meeting. And
All
we'll go
right,
from there.
why don't we do this? I will try and serve, and if I can't do it, you can be the alternate.
that's fine.
All right. We will go with that. So I will make a motion that we appoint these people to the ad hoc committee. Reference the school building.
The what committee did you call it?
The
Former
school-
school advisory committee is
School
what,
Action
Okay.
Committee.
and then here it's the
School
school building
Aid
committee,
Committee.
so.
Oh, that's fine.
Which, well, that's what I came up with, the
What'd you
school
say,
building
Sandy?
committee.
School rehab committee,
Building
because we are rehabbing the school for
Yeah.
use for our town.
We could also call it the school/town office building, because it's already been decided how
So,
some of the place is gonna be used.
again, it'll be the committee's first job to name themselves. We won't throw it onto them. So I'll make a motion that these 9 people.
School revitalization committee.
Yeah, well,
That's
that's
what I
the
was-
original name.
That's good.
Well, school building revitalization.
We'll leave that to
To the
the.
committee.
A spirited debate over this name.
So, that would be, 9 people, 8 people and 1 alternate. And I'll make a motion to nominate those people for that.
Are you, I mean, the select board always is on any town committee.
Not necessarily.
I mean, they don't have to participate, but they are, it is.
They're not necessarily ex officio of
Well,
everything.
see, well, that's what I wanted to clarify as to whether the select board would have a vote, whoever shows up on a given issue.
On this, I would think yes.
I would Okay. think-
On, say, the planning committee, you don't have a vote, but
Okay.
you are an ex officio member.
Okay.
But no, it's not automatic that the select board is on every committee, no.
No, okay.
David?
Yeah,
I would be willing, if welcome, to work with this committee as, in a similar fashion to what I'm doing with the Meeting House Committee right now, not be a voting member or a presenter, but, help with the technical aspects of,
We already have you down for that, Don.
well.
And I can't tell you how valuable it is.
I would think that
And I
would be,
did not volunteer you.
Don, you're automatically involved in
I think
this.
that was-
Just a heads up, the building was built in 1981, the Americans with Disabilities Act, I think, was 1990, and as long as that was property of the school, operating as a school, everything was grandfathered, but there may be, I can tell you there are gonna be some nuances that are gonna come up, and I can't report on them tonight. I have a couple of calls in with, Steve Dumont from the, Labor Industry. So hopefully I'll have some information.
So Don, we'll make sure that you're included in the meeting, this first meeting that we're gonna have. In fact, in
My boss. will
any
consider
meeting. But especially this first one, because this first one is gonna be talking about the building and what needs to be done. I mean, we will make a name, but that may take a couple hours, so.
hopefully it does not take that long, so,
You never know.
Do we have a second on the motion?
yeah, do we have a
I'll
second?
second that motion.
Thank you, Don.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Move on from there. We did have, and I don't have the information with me, but I was, we had a dog bite in town, a week or so ago.
Do we need to quarantine it?
The dog has been quarantined, and I believe we had emails, and I don't have those, but, and I've tried to get with Steve. Do we have copies of them here?
Copies of,
The emails and things from the person that was bitten and another witness?
did have some, I'm not sure if I can
Was
find
it
it.
quarantined at?
The only email I had was whether the dog had the rabies shot or not.
All right, so I believe the animal did have the rabies shot, it was quarantined.
With the homeowner or
The,
the
no, with the,
Wyndham?
no, at the homeowner.
That's what I said, the homeowner, okay.
And the health officer, he's taking care of that. The person that was bitten, my understanding is it wants a hearing, reference the dog bite as a vicious dog. And we were obliged to have a hearing on that if they request that. I have a little information here on it. It's a lot of information, but you can look at that but it looks like we have 7 days, and if we count today as the first day of notice of it, we have another week to have a hearing on this where we notify the victim that can come to testify or do it in writing, and the owner of the dog can come before us on that as to,
So it's not 7 days from the bite, it's 7 days from,
well, when we're noticed of it, and,
Right.
and as this is the first meeting that we've had, or first understanding of it, this we'll start counting it as tonight as the date of,
Now, we do have an ordinance on leash law, right?
we do have the leash law. Well, it's not a leash law, it's
Well,
a dog ordinance, but
ordinance.
it's not that dogs all have to be on leashes, but.
Can you just clarify why the dog bite has become a town issue and not the dog owner's issue to take
Well,
care of this?
Well, if somebody, if a dog bites somebody, a dog has to be quarantined, and the health officer has to ensure that the dog is quarantined. Examine the dog after a 10-day period to see that the dog doesn't have rabies, to check to see if the dog is registered and had its rabies shot at the beginning. Dog can be quarantined at the discretion of the health officer with the person that owns the dog, or they can take it to a facility to have it quarantined. I'm not sure that the Humane Society will quarantine them for us. I believe it has to be a veterinary.
I thought that's why we pay them.
That's for taking in stray dogs. Don't believe that they will take a quarantine.
I thought that we paid for any time we needed to put a dog in, such as quarantining or stray dog. I didn't realize it was only for stray
I
dogs.
think it's only for strays.
Yes, when I was a health officer, it has to be quarantined at a veterinary clinic.
Yes.
Or the home.
But why
Or
is
the-
it,
or the-
why is it up to the select board to hold a hearing?
It's-
That's what I'm confused about, is why is this not just between the person that got bit and the dog owner? I don't understand how the town got involved.
If somebody who is bitten requests a hearing, the town has to have a hearing. It's by state statute on a vicious dog, and then the board has to sit in a quasi-judicial format and hear the evidence, and then proceed from there as to what happens. If they believe there's nothing happened, you could say, okay, that no restrictions on the dog. If something terrible happened, there are a couple of things that the town can do that can be ordered.
So was this on the homeowner's property, or was the dog not on the homeowner's property when this happened?
He's on the property.
Well, I believe it was on the road.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not on the homeowner's property, on the road.
I believe it was on the road, is my understanding.
Because I think if it was on the homeowner's property, I
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It's
Yeah,
a different situation if it's on the homeowner's
Yeah.
property
Yes.
as opposed to being on the public,
Yeah.
on public property.
But we don't want to get into a lot of the issues of it right now, because we should save that for the hearing. And this is a few pages out of VLCT's manual on the hearing. This is what I,
Spot takes the witness chair.
what? Spot takes it. Tim,
Does the select board make some kind of decision at this hearing?
yes.
Okay. As to what to do with the dog, is that
Yes,
basically
my
the
understanding.
decision you make?
I thought that, isn't Vermont a one bite state though? I guess I'm just not understanding like,
Well, what's a one bite state? Explain
So-
that to us.
sure, oh, I'm being big update. In some states like Vermont, we're in the minority of states, a dog gets to bite someone once and then the owner is essentially put on notice that they potentially have a dog that could be dangerous. And then liability, as far as negligent goes, attaches if the dog bites someone a second time. So in a lot of states you get like your dog bites someone, the dog can be put down, but in Vermont, you get like a one bite first.
I don't think that's the case. I
No.
think anybody can,
I was a town health officer for quite a while, and that's nothing
So
that
does
I've read. And today I was, because I knew this was on, I
Yeah.
was looking through Title 20, and I didn't see anywhere in there.
I was I was looking as far as like individual like stuff goes. I'm not sure. I'm just trying to understand how what the town's role in
There
this
may be
is.
some case law, out there that if a dog bites one person one time, then it's the
Yeah.
first time, that then they can't be held liable. I don't know about that. But I do know that if a dog is vicious or alleged to be vicious, the person that's bitten can request a hearing, and that's my understanding.
To determine if the dog is vicious and then where it goes from there.
Determine if the dog is vicious and what the select board can order for the dog. I'm not sure that we have ever had a hearing like this, and I know that we may have, but
Was this
it's a
where-
very rare thing for a select board to have a
Yeah,
hearing
was
like
this
this.
where the person had to go to the hospital for treatment or
I believe
anything?
I don't know for sure, but I believe that they did receive a bite. I think they did go get medical attention for it. But I don't know all the facts of it, as I said.
When will the 10-day quarantine be up for the
I believe it should be up sometime soon, I believe. I don't know the exact date.
Will this hearing be public?
Yes. The decision may not be, I believe that we adjourn and then issue a decision, but it can be a hearing that is public. It's a public matter. So, do we have a date that would work for you two?
I'm flexible.
It would be in the evening or during the day?
It could be whenever we deem it needs to be. I mean, in the evening would probably be better for me.
And we'd have it within 10 days?
7 days
7 days.
is what I read. If we're counting tonight when we first are here all together and have the information here, and that's what I'm doing is counting today as being the first day, so it will have to be between now and next Friday. Any date work or not work for you, or?
Well, probably not Tuesday night, it's my anniversary, my husband would probably kill me if I came to a meeting on my anniversary.
What better to do? Bring him here? Say, this is the date.
Yeah, uh-huh,
You don't?
just not Tuesday night.
All right, wouldn't it? Good for you. We have to make notice to both parties.
And what happens if they can't make it?
Then I believe in reading
Well,
some of that.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, in reading some of that, I didn't read all 20-some pages of it there, but I
Do you
believe.
need this? Can I take it and read it and?
Give me a copy of it.
Okay.
We'll make 3 copies of it.
Okay.
So Wednesday,
Works for me.
Wednesday,
Okay,
6 o'clock,
okay.
6 o'clock.
What's that date?
25th.
25th. All right, so the 25th, we will do that.
And do I have to be here to take notes?
Yes.
Okay.
And can you notify both the bite victim and the owner of the dog that there will be a hearing on
Do
this?
they have counsel, or they just?
They could bring counsel if they want. They can do whatever they want. So,
Does Steve have contact with them so I know?
Steve, I believe, I tried to get Steve to come tonight, but I haven't been able to get hold of him.
And does he have to come to the hearing?
I would like him to be here. I don't think
Yeah.
he has to, but I would like him to be here. So, I would talk to Steve about it, but if you can get the information and then notify him in writing, that there will be a hearing on the matter on Wednesday, and I will make a warning for that too.
And if we deem this dog vicious, what happens? It gets put down?
There are several ways that we
It's in
can
here?
do. We can
Okay.
have it restrained, we can do
you-
different things, I believe.
I'll make copies of this so I can take it and read it.
It is online
It
as
is?
well. If you don't want. actually, we will skip over the warrants, I mean, we'll go to roads. Matt, you have?
Yes, I would like to thank all the contractors that helped us out during the flood. Basin Brothers, Clark's, and Ivor. And there's many more that offered to help. And I appreciate everybody's offer and help. And with all the work that we've done in the last 15 years to the infrastructure, we handled it a lot better than most towns. And yeah, I think we were the last one the state came and actually saw it because we had the least amount of damage out of the infected towns. So we should have everything. We got a little spot left up on Mill Hill to do, and a couple down in Brookline, and everything else is all fixed and put back together.
So the current bill that we have, we want, that's for everything that's done so far, but we'll have more
Yeah,
possibly.
just a couple more.
What have we heard from the state on that?
From what I gather, FEMA is supposed to step in, and we are over our. We have a natural disaster, and we have over $10,000 worth of damage. They automatically come in. The state steps in, so we're covered one way or the other. And with all the damage in the surrounding towns around us, that they figure FEMA's coming and get the paperwork all ready.
I've heard that a disaster has been declared by the federal government, so
Yes.
That the reimbursements hopefully will be just a matter of paperwork. As of right now, it's just below 40,000, correct?
Yep.
39,000. Do you have any idea how much the next bills are?
Shouldn't be too much more.
Under 10, do you think?
Should be right around 10.
Right around 10.
Right. Any other questions about the flood?
Over the edge mowing?
Well, that was coming, what, right around the flood time, right?
The week after the flood hit.
Yeah, so we did it for September.
Okay.
Yep,
Because
September
I've had
6th.
2 townspeople call me saying, are we gonna do that? And I said, as far as I know, it's on the books, and
Yes, but they changed it to.
that's fine. So,
I just have a question. Since this is gonna be the first time, is this the first dog bite hearing that you think the town has had? I'm just curious.
I can't remember one.
If so, is this something that the town should consult? I know there's an elected position, like the town grand juror or someone. Since it's the first, I think it would make sense that the board would at least consult the elected official whose job it is to advise the town.
It may be the town agent
Yeah,
would be the one that would consider the town grand juror.
either way, it's still the same individual.
But
Yeah.
I'm not sure that we want to expend a lot of money on attorneys for this hearing if.
Right, that's why I meant like the elected official whose job it is my understanding when we voted was to advise the town.
VLCT has, I think it's a 78-page booklet on this, so they have pretty much laid out what we can do, how we do it. Even they say the statute's kind of vague, and
Again, I'm not suggesting that the town spend money or resources, it's just there's an elected official in town who is like the elected legal person, so it would seem that this would be a great time to use them since they don't do that much. So that's all. I was just wondering if the board was just gonna consult, that elected official.
I mean, we can. I think VLCT probably has more information on it,
Yeah.
that they've had to deal with it in different towns and stuff. We can, if we need it, we could call them in.
Do you want a copy of this to read?
Yeah. Please.
All right. Roads, back to roads. Anything else?
Sand bids?
I got the sand bits right here, but nothing else on the flood and.
No, everything's still moving right along. We're still waiting to see what's gonna happen with a few little projects, but
And how's all the equipment holding up? And
good. I gotta take the big truck down and have the steering box checked in it. And it's getting a wicked shake in it, but that should be covered under the warranty. And
Hopefully, better.
other than that, everything's going good.
Alright. So,
Steering,
we have 3 bids here. You don't have any others, Darlene?
nope.
Okay.
One of the last meetings, it was discussed about having the backhoe appraised, or having Matt check in. Did you have a chance to do that?
Yep.
About how much it was actually worth?
Yes. Do you have that paperwork?
Yep.
Alright, we'll hold off on that for just a second here.
Oops,
Eastman Sand and Gravel submits a bid of $15.50 a yard, per yard for winter sand delivered to the Athens Town Garage. And Basin Brothers Trucking, $17.85 a cubic yard.
Is that delivered?
What?
Delivered?
I believe it's delivered. It does not say delivered, but I think it
You think it is?
That's what the
is.
ad
The RFP
was.
said.
Okay.
Yep.
And this is JP Trucking. And 1,000 yards delivered at $21 per yard.
Wow. What Eastman was, how much, 15?
$15.50. Basin, well, you have that.
Basin's is 1785.
$17.85. And JP is 21. Eastman doesn't say how many yards in here, but the RP stay at 1,000, right?
Yep.
Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we go with, is that Eastman, that was 15 something?
$15.50 per yard.
I think we should discuss it,
Okay,
all right?
go ahead.
Basins, we have some sand from previous years that is not up to snuff to use on the roads. So getting either JP's or Basins, which comes from the same pit, we may be able to mix the lesser quality sand with their sand to make it go.
And what's wrong with the sand, why can't it be used on the road?
Some
I'd
of
like
it's too
to,
fine.
I'd like to see what, P&L is gonna ship us for sand before we say we'll take it. Because I went over to their pit the other day to see, their sand pile, and they didn't even have any processed yet. So I don't know what part of their pit they're getting it out of, I don't know if it's gonna be good sand or bad sand, I don't know anything about it.
And if it's bad sand, it's usually too fine, is that right?
Yeah, it's too fine, it don't work for the ice storms that we've been having very well, you have to put a lot of it on the roads. And then the worst part is in the spring, it's trying to mix it in, you get all the slime on the roads, and when you use better sand, like we got from P&L a couple of years ago, the mud season was a lot quicker, it blended in nice, and we didn't have half the problems.
So do you want to go over there and talk to them before we accept their bid?
I'd appreciate it.
Matt, I'm surprised that visiting every one of these is not an automatic part of looking at the bids, because obviously by your own testimony, the quality of the sand is what counts. And if you get a real cheapo that doesn't do the job, then...
I've been over and I went to Josh's pit before the flood, because he talked to me about wanting to put a bid in. And Basin's getting his sand from Josh, so either bid is the same sand pile.
Mhm.
And his sand looks really nice. I do not know what P&L has for sand, because they didn't have any made up in their pit. But they've been a little busy with the flood work too, so.
Yeah. I'm just thinking in the future, maybe that's almost an automatic part of accepting bids, is that
It should be.
that you know what the sand is that you would be buying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And which sand was it, the sand that was too fine from Eastman's?
Yeah, the stuff that we got last year was a little fine.
Well, why don't we have you go and look at what they're gonna deliver, and we can, does it say when they will have it in here by?
Eastman just says for the 2021-22 winter season, but it doesn't say.
I think it's by October 31st. I think that's what the paper said.
What the paperwork said, so if we vote on this at the next meeting, after you viewed the sand,
JP does say by October 30th, and
Basins I don't think have it.
Basins does not say.
Now, is it a processing thing that happens that makes it so fine?
No, it's the material
Where-
that's in, it's the
Where
dirt
it
that's
is
in the pit.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we've got good material from them before,
Yes, we have. Very good.
so,
It all depends on where they're digging in their pit.
alright, so why don't we do that? Why don't we, have you go and view what they have, and you can report back to us the next meeting?
I mean, let them know your concerns and the problem that you had,
Yeah.
that you have sand that's unusable because it's too fine.
Yeah, because our roads are getting to the point where they're really starting to come along with the gravel that we're putting on. And I just hate to have good gravel and put not up to quite par sand on it and dilute the gravel down to need to put more gravel.
So, the sand is fine, but is it slippery when it gets
Nope,
wet? It's
nope,
just fine.
it's just fine.
And does it not go through the hopper as well? or-
It goes through the hopper and everything, but there's not as much stone in it.
So it
And the
doesn't
stone's
grip.
where you get your true grit on the dirt road, especially during an ice storm.
Alright, so we'll do that, we will put this off till the next meeting to award a bid. I'll get those to Darlene.
Is there a date on those saying how good that bid is good for? I didn't notice, but I know sometimes they say this is only good for X number of days, and I think one of them says about a week.
Can you make a decision on it when you come together for the hearing for the dog bite
Well,
instead, and can
If we
that?
call, we would have to call another meeting, so we could do that, but the dog bite is not technically a select board meeting. Well, it is, but it's, we would have to go and, we would have to go to one hearing and then adjourn, and easy enough to do, so we could do that.
It doesn't say?
No, I don't see it.
I
Okay.
didn't see any, I think because they're saying it's till October, the end of October, so. All right, nothing else for roads? Warrants and maintenance.
I'm working on warrants,
These two.
those two are signed. These ones I haven't even looked at yet. But I can go make copies of these.
We'll give it to Sandy, she'll.
Can you just do them back to back so we don't waste so much paper? Do you know how?
I think she knows how.
I don't know how.
Where'd Don run off to? That's the other question.
Yeah, go home. You gotta
Doesn't
go
like
to work
to-
in the morning.
Don't we all? I stamped something.
Do one side.
That's for your party.
What I don't understand is
Yeah, I
why you
understand.
go all those batteries at the end, that doesn't, I mean, it's a private, it's almost like a private business.
No, I can grab you by the neck.
No, no, no,
pick
no,
up the
no,
You do that at the end of the agenda, so that basically the meeting ends.
earlier.
About all we got left.
Oh, okay, but I'm just, in the past, it seems to me that warrants come and then there's more
We have an
business.
executive session afterwards here, but,
If you're not like snapping, you'll be all right.
but other than that,
Night, Wiki.
Yep, nobody took it.
you're leaving.
It would be great if we could just get it off of the post, you could probably just post again for something else, right? And then we could just get the sign and keep it in the meeting house. So if you could sign that, 'cause I don't think I could ever.
You mentioned Kate Goldberg's name as far as one of the new, we've got a good committee there, some good people.
You figure it out.
So this one, if I
So David, put the rest in.
I know everybody's recessed, but when you, David, excuse me, I have a question. When you put out the sand bids, did you put in spec within the sand?
Yeah.
When you put out the sand bids, did you put in specs for what each person had to bid on and what they had to
Yes.
give you?
Yes.
You did? Okay.
I know back in Justin, she's last insurance on the town shed started, it was like 25,000, but we
and just like.
So you want
Oh, yeah.
Did we ever raise that? We got it down to 25, but we didn't raise it.
She was laid down, she was scared.
Yeah.
Everywhere. And then the guy goes to Rebecca, which is, this is where I came down and said.
Yeah, I saw that.
This mine?
That's yours.
Original?
Yep.
Should be like ultrasound. And then kind of. So it's a.
Oh, you got signed?
Have you had any
feedback on the new trash service? Seems to be going well.
really common in the city?
I haven't heard any complaints.
So like if they go I need water, puddle or the malformed across the grass, and then it's super
David, are you having an executive session for personnel tonight? or-
Yeah.
So the bacteria.
I like these
gets inside of it.
electric bills, every time we just go,
You like the electric bill?
yeah,
Why do you like it?
they're really low.
Oh, yeah.
51, 37, and 39.
That's for the office, huh?
One's for the office, one's for the school, and one is for the town garage.
Can I ask if Sandy can stay in with us?
Came back positive. No doctors have ever been left.
Oh.
Doctors in the ER, never seen a real doctor.
Yeah.
And same with the vet over in, Rock. And so she's on medication for her liver and a really strong antibiotic. But we just did that yesterday, one of the liver numbers.
Yeah, so we're gonna get a hold of Dennis and get them boards and the cat done.
I'm still really attached to this dog, but she does not feel
I think what I'm gonna do is just bring it up to your house and drop
I
it off.
feel frustrated, it's like I feel like I'm not doing anything, but the liver.
It's your old nature.
The liver is. And getting people to call me back is like, oh,
Because I got
and it's
stain.
very frustrating.
Sandy, do you know how much
Because like, other people just.
ground maintenance is done up at the cemetery?
You give her a different.
How much
kind of
what?
Antibiotic.
Monthly ground maintenance work? I know you're not the cemetery
Antibiotic,
commission,
or
but
something
Yeah.
like that, it's like.
is there a lot that goes on up there?
Anything.
Don't do it monthly.
Yeah. Why does it say monthly ground maintenance work for all 10 days?
No way.
Or $625?
Oh, you need to get a breath
He
fresher.
doesn't do it monthly.
I know, and it's usually not this much money, it's not, it's barely $25, it's usually.
Yeah, no, sorry, I'm left. I don't know why.
$625 is for the quarter.
Yeah, it's quarter.
Aha,
Yes, he does,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that
Got it.
dog, and like earlier this summer, she got into pills,
Mhm.
so she's just in the hospital a lot.
Oh, well, I shouldn't be dancing around with the camera still on, huh? Okay,
This, your copy there.
Yeah.
my copy here, thank you.
And we got one
I
for
feel so bad after
One
you
for
for
Denise,
everything's
one for
going on,
Janet.
you know, Afghanistan and everything, but it's important to me, and I remind myself that God is the God of the individual. He cares
for the dog.
Yes.
Okay.
And so I just, gosh, I just, yeah, it's really hard.
I don't know, maybe David's dog.
No, David's
And like, she was
Oh, you just said
That's big. Well, I have one for you. For the-
Hey, Matt,
Yeah,
what were these for?
well,
From Jordan Equipment for all the carbide, for the grader?
yep.
And how often does that have to?
Well, we've been going through about one every 3 years.
That's not too bad.
that is something.
Oh, it says right there grader. I was holding it like this.
Through,
There should be one in there from Jordan for a backhoe too.
Are they together?
I don't know.
No,
No?
Okay.
Or was that last month?
I think it was last month.
Alright.
Okay, so,
Yeah, thank you so much for your prayers, and I'm just praying so hard.
Well,
They're for tea?
Yep. Backhoe deep from the back bucket.
Yeah. I know, but it's just like, you know, I don't
You
get
don't wanna
along
move
with
that away.
No.
They have to.
Yeah. So, hopefully.
okay, so I guess we can throw away the rest of, the emails from Brenda from last.
Oh, there is one for the backhoe. It's just $51. It doesn't say what it is. Parts and service grounds, that backhoe. I don't know.
It's been a while since I looked
I
at
wonder,
it.
I wonder if we paid a bill and this is, because it says it's a balance, maybe we paid something, we didn't pay the whole thing last month?
I don't know.
You know, like I'm not human, and no one wants to pay me that much. I love science, so I read all this stuff about it. Connections to people, and it's just
Is there a sweeper that the town hires to sweep the, you know, like Brattleboro has a sweeper that's just every season, that's a luxury that Brattleboro can afford, yeah. The reason I asked the question, we have all those stones on the driveway, no big deal. Like, there's a piece. That's it, right?
That's it, yeah.
Good, thank you. See you folks.
Wednesday night.
Accident girl.
what?
If it's not gonna be there.
Yeah.
Well, the person asking for it can ask for it not to happen, so. The person that was bitten can ask for it not to happen.
Oh.
What's this for?
Probably.
Found it somewhere.
there's a sunset that we don't.
I know, and I just wish you could talk to me.
I know.
I keep telling Sadie, talk to me, I don't understand why.
I know, and I just love this dog so much, and like the thought of like, you know, it's like you can't just get another one, you know, it kind of feels like a kid, at least, I mean, I never had children, but like this feeling that I have for her, it's like when people talk about how they feel about their kids, it's like I imagine, like, this is the closest thing I've felt to that feeling that they described. And,
Got
oh
nothing.
gosh, I love that dog. April just got a dog.
What did we got?
A poodle. A poodle. Really cute. I got a picture of it.
Miniature, standard?
She's a standard, but
She's
she'll be
big.
smaller
Yeah.
on the small side.
Is it pure poodle or mixed?
No, pure poodle.
Okay, this is when Grandma got home today. She called from her fur gram.
My pages straight here.
Look how excited they were to see Grandma.
Of course.
Vicious
Have you seen this, April? Look how excited. Okay, this is when Grandma got home today.
Oh, yeah, they both do that.
But then look at them.
Yeah, Molly.
Bill's mom would come to the house. Uma was right there.
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grandma always comes with treats.
I know, or like Grandma Donna was always like, don't get a dog, I don't want to take care of it. She cooks Piper dinner. She cooks his dinner.
Never wrapped
Does
around
she
his
put a little
finger.
finger? No, does she cook Piper dinner? Absolutely.
on to executive session. I will make a motion to enter into executive session to discuss a personnel matter, and I ask that I have that Matt Perry stay in the meeting, or at least part of the meeting, executive session. Is there a second to that?
I will second that.
All right. All those in favor? Aye.